I mean, I didn't even think I could do it, and then I just went out there and I did it. And it shows that you don't have to be the strongest, the tallest, the most fit. You just have to try.
Welcome to the Woman Angler and Adventurer podcast, inspiring real women with a passion for fishing and the outdoors to go get their adventure on. Now, here's your host, Angie Scott and Barb Carey.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Woman Angler and Adventurer podcast. I'm Angie Scott. Barb Carey is up north. She just wrapped up a successful crappie weekend at Deerfoot Lodge that we mentioned a couple weeks ago in our chat with Amanda Wilson. Amanda sent along some photos from the weekend, and it looks like everyone had a blast. Wish I could have been there. From there, Barb hit the road, and she's up in Manitoba. I'm looking forward to hearing about all her adventures, as I'm sure you are as well. As for me, I'm back in Nashville on Living the Dream Studios, which is a 66-foot houseboat on Percy Priest Lake. I'm pretty excited to say I finally figured out an internet solution here, so I'm able to do interviews right from the boat. You're about to hear the first one today. But before we get into that, I have a quick announcement. I have the opportunity to attend the Bassmaster Classic this week in Knoxville. I'll be on the boat with G-Man, two-time Bassmaster Angler of the Year, and he's my favorite, by the way. I've been following him for a long time, and I can't believe that not only do I get to meet him, but I get to ride along with him in his boat for practice day as he prepares for the Classic, which begins on Friday. On Friday, I'll be out with Alton Jones Jr. as he makes his second appearance in the Classic. I hope to learn a lot from these amazing anglers and get a lot of behind-the-scenes coverage for you guys. I'll be posting updates on the Woman Angler and Adventurer Facebook group page, so if you're not already a member, hop on it and join. There'll be a link for that in the show notes for this episode, which you'll be able to find at thewomanangler.com/50. I'll also be chatting with several anglers on Thursday, so if there's any comments or questions you'd like to ask anyone, email them to me, Angie, at thewomanangler.com, and I'll be happy to pass those along for you. Okay, back to this week's episode. So I'm a huge fan of anything fishing related on television, so it's no surprise I'm a huge fan of the show Wicked Tuna on the National Geographic channel. Ever since I saw this lady killing it out there on the water with her dad and her brother, I thought, what an inspiration. We're gonna have her on the show. So today I am very proud to announce our special guest, Angelica Marciano from the FV, Hard Merchandise, and now their newest vessel in the fleet, the Falcon. Hopefully you all caught the 90-minute season premiere on Sunday night of the new season, Wicked Tuna Season 8. If you missed it, maybe they'll be replaying it at some point, so check out for that. But the new season airs on the National Geographic channel every Sunday evening, so tune in for that. And without further ado, let's jump into my conversation with Angelica Marciano. Angelica, welcome to the Woman Angler and Adventure podcast. It's an honor to have you on the show. So for listeners out there who may not be familiar with National Geographic Channel's hit series Wicked Tuna, would you mind giving listeners just a quick rundown on what that show's all about?
Yeah, of course. So Wicked Tuna is a TV show on National Geographic. It's the 8th season of Wicked Tuna that we're about to enter, and it is about a bunch of boats. We're fishing for bluefin tuna off of Gloucester, Massachusetts, and it's just stories about our lives going to fish for tuna.
Cool. So let's back up for just a second and find out, how did your family and you specifically get involved with the show?
That was pretty funny. They had this idea for the show. It was Pilgrim Production Company that had this idea for Wicked Tuna. And they were interviewing captains and asking around Gloucester and trying to find their talent. And everyone kept dropping my dad's name. They're like, have you talked to Dave Marciano? He'd be a great character. My dad has always been very prominent in the fishing community. He's been out there speaking up for fishermen in local government sessions. So he's always a pretty good name. So people kept saying you should talk to Dave Marciano, and lo and behold, they talked to Dave Marciano, and here we are 8 years later, which is pretty insane. So how I got on the show, I was actually, my company, I used to work for an airline. My company was going through a merger. My dad was telling me that my cousin Jay actually was moving to Alaska with his girlfriend and their 3 dogs. And he was telling me this story, and he was like, what can I do? Like, I can't just replace Jay. For those of you who don't know, my dad fishes on the Hard Merchandise, now the Falcon, and he fishes with my brother, Joseph, and my cousin, Jay. And he was telling me about how he was like, well, I can't just replace Jay. I can't just get anyone. And I'm like, well, my company is going through a merger. I might as well try my hand at it. I need a break. And so that's how I ended up on the show.
Cool. So I imagine growing up in the family that you grew up in, you had a lot of experience fishing with your dad, and your mom fishes as well, I understand. I think I read somewhere that she holds a record in the state of Massachusetts for a striped bass.
I know that there are definitely some great pictures of her holding striped bass in the house, and I'm very proud of that. She's definitely caught very big fish.
Yeah, well, that's cool. We actually have an event that the Woman Angler and Adventure is working on this October. We're gonna try and team up with Al's Goldfish Lure Company and another organization and try to get a group of women out near Cape Cod this fall and do some striper fishing. So,
oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. What do you find that draws you into it?
Well, so we've always been fishing out with my dad when we were younger, more for fun than anything. He's always taken us out on the water. The boat has literally been a part of our lives. My dad's first boat was named the Angelica Joseph, so it would have been silly not to go out on the boat that was literally named after us. You know, fishing isn't the most reliable way to make money, so that's always been a little hard for our family. So we take advantage of going out on the boat, and that was our lonely vacation, you know, because we couldn't always afford to go to Florida.
What's it been like since this whole thing started? I imagine it's had a pretty huge impact on your lives. What do you enjoy most about all this?
So I think the coolest part about all of this is I was able to go out for a summer and get paid to hang out and fish with my brother, my dad, and maybe some other familiar face this season. But I mean, who gets to go out with their family and get paid for it? You know, like that's amazing. Like, we worked really hard to catch these amazing fish, and it's pretty amazing to have an opportunity like this, going out there and seeing all of the life that the ocean has to offer. I couldn't have asked for a better opportunity.
So you mentioned the new season. I highly encourage everyone to tune in. Is there anything you can kind of like give us a hint or like what people can expect out of this new season?
This new season is going to be pretty great. I mean, I'm excited for all of the twists and turns. We are fishing primarily on the Falcon, which is my dad's newest boat. It's really cool to see. We got to go fish on it during the Outer Banks, last season of the Outer Banks. So it's not our first time fishing with this new boat, but it's the first time this boat has been fishing in northern waters. You'll get to be introduced to this new part of our life, which is pretty cool. And like I may have mentioned, there may or may not be some familiar faces coming back into this season, which I think a lot of viewers are going to be really excited to see. Awesome. It may have been the most asked question relating to last season.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Well, we'll have to tune in to see what exactly what you're talking about there, but I'm excited.
Yeah.
I noticed too, I saw in one of the previews that the pinwheel, Tyler is fishing with his sister this season, so it's cool to have another female presence on the show. Yeah,
it's definitely pretty cool to see other women fishermen out there. I don't actually know Marissa that well, but it's really cool just to know that there's another woman fisherman out there.
Yeah, it seems to be, I've been seeing a lot of articles coming out just in the industry in general that females are the biggest growing segment of the market. And so I think it's cool that there's people like you.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Because I think it's really fascinating because fishing was previously a space that just women weren't so much allowed to be in. And there's a lot of growth about women just being able to do what they love no matter what it is. So I'm really excited to see women who love fishing finally going for it and trying something new and loving it,
Yeah, I agree. And I think, while we still have a long ways to go, of course, but, from what I understand, as far as the numbers go, like more women are buying fishing licenses and things like that, but we're not quite to the point where we're really retaining them. So they may buy a license and then not renew it the following year. So I think there's still a lot of work to be done as far as getting, education out there for women that, obviously there's a lot of men guides and instructors out there right now that you can learn from, but some women are kind of intimidated by that. And so I think more female leadership and teachers and things like that will really help kind of retain those women who are buying the licenses and then just not sticking with it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
I think it's really cool to have you on the show, and I'm sure there's a lot of young girls watching that really look up to you. Have you had any like direct contact or, with any fans, young girls that are inspired by what you're doing out there so far?
There's a couple young adults who have reached out to me and say that it's pretty amazing that I do what I do, because it's not an easy job. Fishing is a lot of hard work. I mean, when you go out there for days at a time and you have to face inclement weather and all sorts of wild situations, it's not like having a 9-to-5 job, because you don't even know when you're going to work the next day or if you're going to work the next day, and you can't count on that paycheck. And no matter how hard you work, you might not get anything for it, no matter how good of a job you do. So it can be really frustrating. But it's been really cool to see a lot of fathers tell me that their wives are actually paying more attention now. They didn't think that a woman could go out there fishing, same as the men portrayed. It's really cool to see that they didn't think anyone could do it. I mean, I didn't even think I could do it. And then I just went out there and I did it. And it shows that you don't have to be the strongest, the tallest, the most fit. You just have to try. And that's pretty cool to see, and people have responded to that.
Yeah, that's awesome. One of our mantras on the show is, if she can do it, I can do it.
I love that.
Yeah, and like you said, just people seeing you out there maybe inspires some other women to say, you know what, if she can do it, I can do it. And so kudos to you for going out there and giving it a try. I watch the show and I see all the struggles and the times where, fishing is really hard, or you hook up with one and it's like hours. Like how do you stay motivated, I guess, when the going is tough like that?
It's hard sometimes to stay focused and keep your head up and stay motivated it's hard when you spend 8 hours fighting a fish only to lose it on the 9th hour, and you feel like you wasted all this opportunity and time. But you have to realize that with the bad comes good, and if you don't keep trying, then absolutely nothing will happen. And sometimes there are days that you just don't catch a fish, but you're still out there and you're still learning from the experience. And if nothing else, that's really what you have to focus on, that you've been learning and you're out there together with your family and you have to make the most of it. Okay.
I have to imagine the thrill of being successful, catching that big fish, or, just kind of keeps you motivated. What's that experience like when can you even describe the thrill of landing one of these big fish? I can't even imagine.
Yeah, well, it's funny. I've said before that tuna fishing is some of the highest highs and some of the lowest lows, and I definitely think that speaks to that. Because when you catch this 500, 600, 700, 1,000-pound fish, like, it's insane. You're like, I didn't think that I could even do that. And then you have this beautiful fish on deck, and all circumstances have just aligned perfectly. It's a pretty amazing feeling. When you catch that 1,000-pound fish, it's almost like when you make eye contact with that really cute person at the coffee shop and your heart skips a little beat and then they come over and they say hi. That's kind of like that feeling.
That's awesome. I don't think I've ever heard fishing described quite that way before, but it makes sense.
Yeah, it's a similar moment.
So we have a Woman Angler and Adventure Facebook group, and I'd mentioned that we were going to be having this conversation. So a few of the people in the group had a couple comments or questions they wanted me to ask. So if you don't mind, I'm gonna
totally.
One person, Brenda, who is actually somebody we've had on the show before, she's a pretty awesome outdoors woman and angler. She said, on the show, it seems like every mark they see on the graph comes up and hits. Is that what really happens, or do they mark a lot of fish that don't come up?
No. My dad is an expert at reading the machine, and it's really funny because he'll be like, that fish is about to bite. And you can tell. And based on all of the experience that my dad has, yeah, he can absolutely tell when the fish is actually going to bite based on how it's moving on the graph. But there are a lot of marks that you see that nothing happens with. We just don't want to show that because that's not exciting. That's just frustrating for us. Frustrating for everyone, you know?
Right. I kind of figured that was the case. It would be too good to be true if every mark that came up, ended up hooking up.
The best thing about seeing a mark is that you know the fish are out there. So that, if nothing else, is reassuring.
Yeah, definitely. She also wanted to know, when you guys take the fish to the tuna grader, do you ever try to negotiate a higher price per pound, or is it just pretty much what they say goes?
It's pretty much what they say goes, because you have a relationship with this buyer, and they are going to do their best to help you. If you don't like their price, you can go to another buyer, but we like our buyer. We like Scotty. He definitely treated us really well in the past, and we know that he'll give us a good price for our fish.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense. And then Rachel asked, she said, I love the show. Can't wait for the new season to start. One thing I've always wondered, is there a prize or reward for being the top boat of the season, or is it just bragging rights?
There's not a monetary prize for being the top boat of the season. It's definitely more about bragging rights. So a couple of years ago, my dad did receive a giant tuna can as a reward. National Geographic crafted that for him.
Cool.
So sometimes they do little things, but it's mostly bragging rights. But it would be cool to see an award with my name on it.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I think it's cool that the company is named after you, though.
Yeah, it's pretty cool and pretty inspiring, you know.
Do you have any specific words of advice or inspiration for other women out there? I mean, I know we kind of touched on it, but just, for young girls who see you on the show and want to go after a life, maybe something similar to getting out there and tuna fishing. Do you have any advice for them?
Yeah, my advice for any young girls who want to go out there and fish, don't let anyone tell you what to do. Like if you feel something in your heart and you want to do it, you should go for it. Tuna fishing isn't the most glamorous way to make a living. I would never say that. And it's not something I want to do forever, but it has been such an amazing opportunity for me. And despite all the challenges, I've grown so much from the experience, and I hope anyone who's interested can have a sort of experience like mine too.
So, and I was visiting the website, the Hard Merchandise, fvhardmerchandise.com. So people could actually take your dad or your brother out on charters. Is that correct?
Yeah. My dad and my brother both offer charters on both the Falcon and the Hard Merchandise. So if you're ever trying to think of something to do for an anniversary, birthday present, then it's just a really cool thing to do. And the charters can be like half-day trips or more. And you can definitely find more information about that on the website, which is fvhardmerchandise.com. I actually went out on a birthday trip last summer. It was this lovely girl. It was her fiance's birthday, and she was saving up all year, and they surprised him with his trip in Boston, and I was helping crew for them, and it was a really cool experience.
Wow, that would be so awesome. What a trip of a lifetime. I think that would be so cool. So if people want to follow your adventures, is there anywhere they can go on social media to follow you?
Yeah, if you're interested in following my adventures, you can follow me on Instagram, and my handle is AEMARC. My Twitter handle is AE_Marciano, MARCIANO. You're interested in following that. And I do have a Facebook page. You can just search Angelica Marciano, and that's pretty exclusively show related. So that's where I'm found.
Awesome. Well, we'll put links to all that in the show notes so people can go follow you. And
awesome.
Yeah, and we're all super excited about the new season and can't wait to see what happens. And thank you so much again for taking the time. I'm glad we were finally able to make this happen. And just best of luck to you and your family and in your future.
Thank you so much for having me. This has really been a delight.
All right, thanks for tuning in to this week's episode. I hope you enjoyed. Remember to tune in to Wicked Tuna Sunday nights on the National Geographic Channel so you can root for Angelica and her family on the Falcon. Stay tuned next week. We have yet another super exciting episode. You may have seen a teaser for that floating around on Facebook. It's been generating quite a bit of buzz. If you're into ice fishing, then you've likely heard of the godfather of ice fishing, Dave Gens. He's a pioneer in the sport, and next week we feature the women behind the legend. We've been calling them the Gens Girls, and it's going to be a really special conversation. So make sure you're subscribed, and you won't miss any future episodes. Until next time, like Captain Dave Marciano says, like the old saying goes, when the going gets tough, the tough go fishing.